There it goes.
The following is the agenda for the regular council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Mayor Council, Municipal Corporation, the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 on December 8th in the municipal building consistent with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting will be open for the public comments. Public comments may be made at designated times during the meeting and may be submitted in writing to be read aloud during the meeting. Comments to be read at the meeting must be submitted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting by email or to the clerk's office. 25 minutes there. There must be a length that can easily be read within the time limit for public comment.
Thank you. Maria, you don't mind muting because it's coming very loud.
Okay.
Okay? Please stand for flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty,
for all.
justice for all.
In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all requested and paid for same, and published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Delany.
Here.
Councilman Bay.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Maria?
Here,
Okay.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Here.
Councilwoman Riker.
Here.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, David Rutenberg, and our Borough Administrator, Kevin Boyle.
Okay, thank you. Under presentations, before we get to our one major presentation, I just want to bring up something that ties into the second one. Today I had a very long conversation, and Kevin was on with me, about our redevelopment project downtown. We had to meet with the New Jersey Financial Board to get the okay from them to write a small bond through the developer. They were way behind. There was many towns that were involved in the process. We got up to our part and we started to talk, and it's a board made up of people from out the state. And, they heard our presentation, and then two of the people on the board said, Pompton Lakes, what a beautiful town. I happen to be from Patterson. What you're doing there with redevelopment is such a great thing, and you're just making that town so much better. And then another gentleman got on and said the same thing. He goes, I hear nice things about Pompton Lakes. It's a beautiful area. You guys were a shopping mecca, and you're trying to be back to that. So even down at the state, they're hearing about what we're doing there, which leads into my next presentation, because Terry was, well involved with that redevelopment project from the beginning, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I thought it was nice that they spoke up, and Kevin was on the call. There was, 3 or 4 other towns. They didn't say anything about the other towns, but they did speak about Pompton Lakes, which was nice to say. So with that, why doesn't you want to stay up here, or you want to come down?
Let's go down.
Okay.
That's how you like to do it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
People's mayor.
The people's mayor.
Are these mics working, guys?
Yes, we'll pick it up.
This one? So, Councilwoman Riker, I'm sorry, will stepping down at the end of this year. Mary and I started together with our quest to become council people over 12 years ago. She's been a great friend through that. But I think the most interesting story when we started about it was, when we first started, Terry was known as, that's the doctor's wife, right? The doctor from town's wife. I think Oscar now is known as, that's the councilwoman, right? That's the councilwoman. So you see where the 12 years have gone. Let me just talk about some of the things that she's done. She was voted councilwoman for 3 terms, 2013, 2016, and 2019. Her liaisons, just to name a few, were the Board of Education, Courts, Licensing, Attorney, Borough Administrator, Bid, Redevelopment. Was a member of the Financial and Personnel Committee, and did a great job for us there. That's a tough board to be on, because that's where the budget comes to talk with the town. A lot goes on there. She was council president from 2018 to 2019. As I mentioned, she was a member of the redevelopment agency and sat on that board from the beginning, correct? Right from the beginning. saying all that, she was very involved with the town, and I gotta give her credit. She came into this not knowing what was going on in the town so much. She filled herself with all this information as she went on, and she did it with me, and I personally want to thank you. We had a great time doing it together. You know, we learned a lot together in those first couple of years that we didn't both know what we were getting into. And I remember a lot of the events that we went to, we were like, wow, I can't believe we're moving through this, and then the next 3 years happened, and the next 3 years happened. You know, our families became close, and you know, I'm really gonna miss her here on the council. So, with that, I'd like to have a little plaque here. Borough of Pompton Lakes presented to Terry Riker, Councilwoman, 2010 through 2021, in recognition of your dedicated service and leadership to the Borough of Pompton Lakes, Michael Sarah, Mayor of Pompton Lakes Borough Council. This is important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Yeah, with you.
Thank you.
What I'm doing is gonna go out of order a little bit. If anybody wants to say some words now, we'll just start on this end or start on this end and go this way. And that way, you don't have to take up time in your report to do it. So, Eric,
Sure.
if you want to start?
Sure. Terry, I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge. When I first got on the council in 2017, Terry took me out to lunch and sat me down and kind of just filled me in on some high-level information. And it was open for questions, and she would take a deep dive if I had additional questions about a specific item. She's one of the folks that pulled my wife and I into involvement in this community, so I thank her for getting us involved. And lastly, thanks for your service to our community. You'll be missed.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we're gonna miss Terry. Greatly miss her. She's been a real institution in this council. And, you know, we've become friends over the years and really appreciate the time that you've served here. And we've done a little campaigning together at times. So, really gonna miss you, Tara.
Thank you.
So I don't have the same background as Mike running with you when you guys were trying to figure things out. Fortunately, by the time I joined you in 2015 with Mike on the campaign trail, you already knew what you were doing, and Mike was running for mayor. But I did have the privilege of running with you in 2015 and 2018. I got to see you as council president from 2016 to 2019. The things that stood out to me was your eagle eye on finance and personnel, sitting in some of those finance and personnel meetings. A lot of residents didn't get to see how vociferous of an advocate for our residential taxpayer money that you were in these contract negotiations and just making points on just signing off bills and things that jumped out to you and talking to you about those various things. There's a lot for you to be proud of over the last 12 years, and I think we all recognize that. And that length of service cannot be understated by any means. I'm glad to have had you as a mentor, as a neighbor now, and as a friend. And thank you for everything you've done, and we on the council will truly miss you. Thanks.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to work with Terry on a few boards and also to campaign with her 1 year, so it was wonderful to start new with someone that had so much experience. Thank you for your dedication to this community, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Maria, are you on there?
Yes, good evening, Mayor.
Would you like to say something for Terry?
Yes, I don't have a very good connection, but I do, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just want to thank Terry for all her years of dedication to the Pompton Lakes residents, to the council, and I think she blames me for possibly being councilwoman, because I remember her asking her 12 years ago, are you interested in possibly joining the council at our mailbox one afternoon? And it's the best question I ever asked a neighbor. Terry's a very dedicated individual, and she came to the council with a I think, very different attitude and outlook, and I think that the residents have absolutely, been very lucky to have her. I know she's been so involved with the downtown bid and the new, renovations of the pilot, and she's just been an amazing person, and I'm very grateful, and I'm definitely going to miss you, Terry, and I know the residents will, and I wish you all the best with all the grandchildren, and your future life as a grandma with Oscar and the family. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I know a lot of people know Terry from redevelopment, but if you go back 10 years, Terry and I, along with Mayor Cole, were very involved with the DuPont procedures that went on. We traveled to Trenton numerous times. We traveled to the EPA headquarters numerous times. Terry was always there with me when we made those travels. You know, back in those days, and that was, you know, a good 10 years ago, there was a lot going on with that. It was very, very involved, and it was very time consuming. And, you know, I was working at the point and Terry was working. It took a lot of time out of the day to make all these trips happen. So, you know, I thank her for coming with me. You know, she was a good sounding board for me and for Katie. When Katie was here, you know, Katie had to do this too, and it was a lot of time and energy. I think a lot of people forget how much time and energy we put into that DuPont property back then. With that, I'm going to let Terry, have any words you'd like to say?
I do. Would you like?
Sure,
Okay.
let's do it now.
Okay. I have some prepared remarks. I'll tell you a little ditty apropos of what you had said.
Okay.
I was at a bar association meeting, and I was sitting next to a lawyer who worked for the EPA, and we were chatting back and forth, and he says to me, "I didn't realize when you asked me to speak that you're an environmental lawyer." And I said to him, "I've never done environmental law in my life." So he says, "Well, you know a hell of a lot more than most of the lawyers who work for me in the EPA." He says, "Where'd you get your knowledge?" And I told him that you and I spent a lot of time with the DuPont issues. If you don't mind, most of you know that traditionally when I speak up here, can you hear me, or I can keep my mask on? Okay. Most of the time when I speak up here, I just have 3 or 4 bullet points and I just go, and I just make sure I cover my 4 or 5 bullets. But tonight's going to be emotional for me, so bear with me, I have prepared remarks. Okay. And some of which was interesting because some of the things you'll hear again. More than a dozen years ago, a devoted soccer coach named Mike Serra wanted better fields for the kids. I had not held elected office since being a student government officer in high school, but I was a seasoned, well-known moderator of political debates throughout northern New Jersey. The local political party was looking for new blood for their slate of candidates for Pompton Lakes. The deadline to submit names was fast approaching. My neighbor, Maria Kent, who was active in local politics but could not run herself because of her employment with the state of New Jersey at the time, approached me at the mailbox and said, "We see you frequently on TV and in the newspapers moderating political debates. Would you rather be a candidate?" Followed by the phrase all of us here on the dais know all too well, "It's only 2 meetings a month." The team of Sarah Riker was born. Neither Mike nor myself grew up in Pompton Lakes. Mike and I were also strangers to each other, having first met when the slate was being formulated. We immediately clicked. Our skill sets complemented each other very well. At the time, we had so many Michaels involved in the community that he was often referred to as my Mike, and others referred to me as his political wife. Lots has happened in Pompton Lakes during our more than 12 years tenure together. We have engaged in a regular program of cleaning our rivers, positively impacting the all too familiar flooding in town. We have worked collaboratively with DuPont to secure systems on the homes in the plume, continued monitoring and cleanup of the site, and finished a massive remediation of Pompton Lake, with new and improved Lakeside Park. Our recreation programs continue to remain strong, and our parks and playgrounds continue to be updated. Our new trails have been a godsend during the COVID pandemic. The relationship with the Board of Ed and the schools is at an all-time high. The shared services that we have engaged in with our nearby communities has allowed us to maintain our level of services for our residents in a fiscally responsible manner. The improved financial status of our town has allowed us to secure the all-important AA1 bond rating. However, the thing that I am most proud of, which will be no surprise to anyone here, is the redevelopment that we have worked so long and so hard to bring to Pompton Lakes. Under the guidance of Michael Fabrizio and the vision of John Sujan, we formed a redevelopment agency sanctioned by the New Jersey DCA. We have seen several smaller projects already completed. Our largest and most notable to date is Lakeside Commons. A supermarket has returned to town. Lidl serves as the anchor for the entire shopping center, which is almost fully leased. The large Meridia project, whose construction will begin shortly, represents the culmination of nearly 10 years of coordinated efforts. When completed, it will house approximately 212 apartments, as well as a restaurant and other small businesses at the street level. Recently, a conceptual project, which is in its formative stages, was presented to the RDA. It calls for a state-of-the-art veterinary facility encompassing traditional vet services, animal daycare and boarding, and luxury animal-friendly apartments. The significance of all this redevelopment is that it will revitalize our wonderful, walkable downtown. But equally as important are the pilots, the payments in lieu of taxes, that accompany all this redevelopment. These pilots will have a positive impact on the financial well-being of our community for the next 30 years. You, the council people, our current council, has a continued unique opportunity that should not be ignored. Seeing that you are all members of the same political party, you are not plagued with the divisiveness that is rampant in our country. Well thought out, intelligent dissent, and civil discourse is an integral part of our political system. If you have a particular expertise, or you are especially passionate about a project or an issue, I implore you to speak up and fight for what you believe is right. Such expression is critical to assure that our government functions at peak integrity and achieves the maximum benefit for all our constituents who elected you to serve. I have had the privilege to work with the sitting council and many who have preceded you. I very much enjoyed working with the borough employees who diligently make this whole town run. In particular, it has been my pleasure to work so closely with the two unsung heroes who you see at each council meeting, both Liz Branzis and Kevin Boyle. Thank you. In addition, this town would not function without the huge number of volunteers who eagerly participate in so many activities that make this borough the place we are proud to call home. In my position as councilwoman, I've had the opportunity to encounter so many residents and neighbors in so many varied ways. Serving as your councilwoman has been a huge honor. It is a commitment that I have not taken lightly. During my time in office, I have been very fortunate. I have been embraced by residents, business owners, and other leaders. In addition, I have the continued support from friends and relatives, both near and far. I want to especially thank my husband, Oscar, who is here with us today, as well as my children, their spouses, and the 6 grandchildren for their continued support. Pompton Lakes has a very special place in my heart. I hope through our efforts, I leave the council knowing that we have done some good, and hope that you feel that I am leaving the town just a little bit better than when we started. However, though I will no longer be serving on your council or your boards, I did want to contribute to the community in the future. To that end, I have endowed a scholarship at the high school in which one young woman will receive $1,800 upon graduation from Pompton Lakes High School. This scholarship is available starting with the class of 2022 and will continue for at least a minimum of 8 years. Thank you for the privilege of serving. I will miss you all.
Thank you, well said, and that's very nice about the scholarship. And I take offense to one of the words, you will probably be on some of my boards. So don't think you're just going away from them. But thank you, Oscar, for taking your time and supporting us and for all the pictures you've taken. Okay, so let's move on. Updates, I do have another update here. COVID-19 vaccination clinic, next Friday, December 17th, between 4 and 6 p.m. at Lenox Elementary School. You'll be able to come in and get your first vaccine, your second vaccine, or your booster. You can have a choice of which one you want. They have all three. If you have any questions, you can contact the Wayne Health Department, which is our health department, 973-694-1800, extension 3106. Walk-ins are welcome. So if you just want to show up on the 17th between 4 and 6 p.m. at Lenox School, you can get your booster shot or any other shot you're looking for. So that's good information, good news.
Is it just for residents, or is it for anyone from any?
I'm going to say it's probably for anyone. It's for anyone.
It's for anyone at this point.
For
Okay.
anyone. I would hope that we get our residents in there first, but for anyone. Okay, so let's move on. Have a motion to open the meeting for public comments.
So moved.
Council President Deline, Councilwoman Palladori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
So
Who
moved.
moved?
Council, who was that? Councilwoman Riker. And Councilwoman Palladori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes of November 10th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Bay?
Second.
Councilman Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Bills and claims. Motion to approve the following bill list as stated below. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilwoman Riker?
Second.
Councilwoman Palladori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Does anybody need anything removed or questions?
Yes.
Can I have it from
Number 17, I think it's 21-282.
21-282? Okay, anybody else?
Yep.
Okay, Liz, whenever you're ready.
Okay, whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 21-266 through 21-283, and we're going to remove Resolution 21-282.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the resolutions?
So moved.
Council President Deline?
Second.
Councilman Bennett? Was that Councilman Bennett?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, resolution 21-282.
Okay, authorizing participation in a nationwide settlement agreement with Johnson & Johnson, McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen to resolve claims involving their roles in the county's opioid crisis.
All right, so I was going to talk about that in my report, but I'll talk about it, I can explain it now. A settlement has been reached between three major pharmaceutical companies of over $600 million for the country. You have to opt in as a town to be part of that, so we are going to opt into it, and then from there, we'll see what part we get. I had a meeting today with the county and the mayors from the towns to figure out how this is going to work. Right now, they're just at the stage of trying to get everybody to opt into it, and then they'll talk about what's going to happen with the money. So that's what this resolution is. It's the resolution of us opting in to get any relief from monies from the pharmaceutical companies. Okay? And I'll talk more about it in my report. Okay, motion to approve resolution 21-282.
Motion.
Councilman Bay,
Second.
Councilwoman Riker, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Wow, look at that. No, nothing. Okay. Under my report. Well, we'll start with that. So today, just a little while ago, I had a meeting with the county and most of the mayors in Passaic County and the gentleman from the national setting on the attorneys that are dealing with this opioid case. Three of the larger pharmaceutical companies have reached a settlement. Like I said, it's like $680 million countrywide. They're expecting at least, what did you say, 600 million for us, right?
600 million in the state.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, that number is probably 1.2. They're hoping that Jersey's gonna get 600 million. Now, the way it works is the more towns that opt in, the more money would come to the state of New Jersey. So the first step is to try to get every town to opt in the state of New Jersey and county. Each county can also opt in. For the most part, most states and counties have opted in. The problem is the window is very short. You have to opt in by January 2nd. So that's why the resolution was put on rushed. And then we have to do some paperwork, and then we're in the suit. And then from there, it'll go through the channels of attorneys to figure out how the money is divvied up. What I'm understanding from today's conversation is the state will get 50% of the money that comes to the state of New Jersey. The other 50% will be divvied up between the counties and the towns that are taking place in the lawsuit. You know, it could be a couple $100,000 per town, depending on the size of your town. So of course we'll in it. Now, the only stipulation that I can see in this is it has to be spent on opioid education, treatments, things like that. You're going to help with the opioid problems in your town. You can't just go buy a police car with it, for example. I did ask the question, who's going to oversee that? They haven't reached out yet, but they think it'll be pushed on to the state, and then the state will push it on to the county, very similar to what we did with the COVID money. So, you know, hopefully in the next year or so, we should see some money coming in from this, and then we'll have to decide how it's going to be used. I'm hoping that we'll be able to put it into our Alliance program somehow, because our state portion of the Alliance program, which pays a lot of the programs that we run, the after-school programs, the Game of Life in the high school, these things, that's been cut. So we've had to cut some of those programs out of our budget. And unfortunately, the federal grant that we get, we cannot take that money and move it into the state one to pay for that. So unfortunately, some of the programs, and it just seems crazy to me that we have this money sitting in an account from our federal side that won't let us use it to pay for the same programs we've been paying for the last 20 years, but they will not let us do that. So we don't want to lose the after-school programs. I think they're very vital for our kids to be busy, especially in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, to have something to do. This year, the town and the school have picked up the cost, a half each, to keep those programs coming because our state mandated that piece of that money was reduced and we can't pay for it anymore. We're hoping our numbers will be increased again to bring that program back, but if not, we'll have to look at a different avenue. So that's the first thing.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when you said treatment and programs, when you're talking about treatment, is that for medical treatments, for preventative treatments, for
It could be anything we
Narcan?
decide that it has to be opioid related. It could be Narcan, it could be
Okay.
purchasing Narcan, which we do anyway, but it could be, you know, programs that we help get people to the hospitals the right way to be treated. Another thing that follows up with this, this again was on the call I had today, Passaic County will be closing their jail starting next month. All our inmates will be going over to Bergen County. And that is, the reason they're doing that is because the jail is old in Passaic County. It needs to be rebuilt at a cost of about $400 million. But the problem isn't the building, the cost, it's the problem that they don't build jails anymore that are 15 stories high, like which our jail is now in Passaic County. They spread it out over lower areas on property, and we have no property to put that on. And I don't think any town is raising their hand to say, please put the jail in my town. So they've decided to move everything over to Bergen County. So the good news that's coming out of this is two things. My first concern, I've been reached out to by a number of employees that work for the jail who live in town now. They're very concerned about their jobs. They're telling me nobody will lose their job. They will all be found a place to be put to once they leave the jail. So that's very good news. The other good news is part of this program will be including building a transportation system where now our officers have to take a prisoner down to Patterson to drop them off in the jail there. Now they'll be providing transportation there and back, which will save us tons of money on overtime, because we pay a lot of money on overtime to transport those guys down to the jail. The other thing they're thinking about doing, which I think is a great idea, building an ambulance squad out of these extra officers, because having day coverage of these ambulance squads is getting very difficult in the northern communities up here. So they're gonna have like a floating ambulance crew that'll kind of help out the day crews that are out there now. Again, made up of these people that were coming from the jail. So those are two good things. Now, this is gonna happen soon. This is gonna happen in the next month. They hope to have the jail closed down by the end of January. So this is a big deal. This is a big move. You know, I think, I support it. I think it's a good idea. What they're basically doing is outsourcing our jail population right
They've
now.
already transferred 200.
200, right. They're signing the agreement tomorrow with the two counties tomorrow. So that's big news. And that ties in with the opioid, because there's treatment that comes with those people when they're in jail. If we feel that we want to use some of that money for that, we can. I mean, that's something groups will be put together to decide how to spend it, but we can use that money for that. Some other good news. We got our official numbers for the CRS, and I have to thank all the people that were involved, especially Kathy and Liz, for putting so much time and energy to do that. Our CRS rating has been reviewed and submitted, and we are still a Class 5 status, which is great news, which gives us, is it 20%, Liz? Is it
25.
20 or 25?
25.
Up to 25.
Up to 25% reduction in your flood insurance bill, flood insurance program. You have to sometimes let them know. So I will tell you again, and it even happened to myself. You have to call your insurance company and make sure you're getting the discount. It should be automatic, but it doesn't always happen that way. So, you know, you should see a line on your flood bill that says 25% discount CRS. And that's from all the hard work this borough has done and putting all the paperwork. And I tell you, the paperwork is this thick to put this in. This is not an easy program to apply. So I thank everybody involved with that. That's really good news. What else do I have here? I have to thank, we had two great events. We had the Menorah Lighting, which is our first official Menorah Lighting this year. The rabbi and I had spoken over the summer about putting it together and doing an actual Menorah Lighting with the help of one of our local residents, Lindsay Janelle. And he said, look, this is the first year I don't expect a lot of people to show up. You know, he expected maybe 5, 6 people. There were over 40 people there. He said it was the biggest turnout he's had for Menorah Lighting for towns that have had menorahs up for a long time. And I warned him, I said, Pompton Lakes doesn't do anything small, so there will be people here, I'm telling you. So it was a great event. They made some nice food. They brought it out, which was just a nice night, which follows with our holiday stroll. And I have to thank the bid and Rob Walker and everybody involved with it. It was a great night. Weather was beautiful. There was a lot of entertainment. I had a lot of good, nice calls about how nice it was to walk downtown. I thought the fire department did a great job bringing in Santa. They had a lot of vendors. I can tell you that I was in a lot of the establishments, and they were packed. You know, most of the restaurants had a waiting list to get in. At the end of the day, that's why we do the holiday stroll, is to support our downtown businesses. So it was a nice event. It went out well, and I thank everybody involved. This week we have our Toys for Tots train coming. That's between, Tim, what time?
105 and 155.
105 to 155. The train will be here at the train station. If you'd like to come and help support the Marines and put the load deep presents on the train and bring an unwrapped gift for a boy or a girl, that would be great. We have hot chocolate, there'll be music, there'll be a small little event going on. We get a lot of people to come down. We usually fill a train of toys every year with all the generous donations. So let's keep that up. And the last thing I have is we also have, it's a very busy weekend. We also have our Breakfast with Santa breakfast at the Elks Lodge this week, the same Saturday coming up. There is no more seatings for the second seating, but we do have limited seating for the 8:30 seating. We have a couple seats left. If anybody's interested in that, they can contact Karen Murphy through the rec department or contact the Borough Hall, and they'll hook you up to the correct people. And that is my report. Council President Dwight.
Thank you, Mayor. Really, I'm pretty short report, but I did want to bring up the holiday stroll. You know, again, as the mayor said, I really want to thank the bid, Rob Walker, all the vendors and groups that participated in that. It was much like many of the events like Pompton Day earlier this year. It was another great event to see our neighbors out and just on what was really a perfect night. It was a little cool to remind us it is the holidays and we do have seasons in New Jersey. It wasn't so cold to chase people away.
Maria, you just want to mute, Maria? Maria?
Yeah.
Just you want to mute? You're coming off really loud, that's all, that's why.
Mike?
Yeah, can you mute yourself?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, so again, again, just a little bit of return to normalcy. Got to see a lot of people that have been, relative strangers in real life the past couple of years. So again, just another wonderful Pompton Lakes event. Glad that we were able to have it this year and continue to look forward to these kind of events in the future. I did attend the Trails Maintenance Day. I'm sure Councilman Bannon will cover more of that. But again, just more hard work in making our community a little nicer of a place. And then finally, I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a great 2022. And that is my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll echo Council President DeLine's comments about the holiday stroll. The number of people was just overwhelming. It was amazing how many people came out to spend the evening in Pompton Lakes. And I think that the early start time, while we weren't sure if it was too early because it was still light out, but worked out perfectly because by 8 o'clock, when we were ready to shut down, it was like getting a little cold at that point anyway. So it was good that we started. I think it was a good decision that we started a little bit early this year. Thanks to all involved. Just about everybody I talked to said they had a great time and they appreciated the increased foot traffic. Trails maintenance, we had a ton of people out actually, surprisingly. Gene Hoffman brought a bunch of folks and the scouts were there. Probably the most number of people I've seen at a winter maintenance day in a very long time. During the event, we also planted the 10,000 daffodil bulb. I assisted Jared Luciani also planting over by Carlo. And we got to the point where we were digging, anywhere we dug, there were already bulbs there. So I'm pretty sure we're saturated at this
The
point.
town's going to be one big daffodil.
One big swath of yellow this spring, yes. Be on the lookout. The middle school kids also planted some more bulbs over by Lakeside. And Principal Hernanko hung the sign over by the fence there, a very visible spot for folks to see who provided the grant and to learn more information about City Green. And I'd also like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bay.
Thank you. I received the CERT report from CERT Supervisor Deborah Gross. She reports the CERT team had a total of 81 volunteer hours for the month of November 2021. I attended the Pompton Lakes Chamber of Commerce meeting on December 6, 2021. President Art Kafka reported that the Chamber is sponsoring a gift drive for the Pompton Lakes children in need. He reports the bid box sale on November 13th was a huge success. The sale started at 11 a.m. and they were sold out by 12 p.m. The Chamber presented the bid President Rob Walker with an award for his work on a very successful holiday stroll. At the holiday stroll, 300 children saw and had pictures taken with Santa Claus. Art Kafka reported the Chamber sponsored a free dinner at the Pompton Lakes Reformed Church. I attended the Pompton Lakes Board of Education meeting on December 7th, 2021. Superintendent Paul Amoroso reported the following. Lennox School students were involved in 2 service projects. The first, the school held a pajama day where students were allowed to wear pajamas to school and the families were asked to bring canned or dried food items which were donated to St. Mary's Food Pantry. Second, on Veterans Day, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan from the U.S. Marine Corps visited Lennox School to kick off the Toys for Tots drive. Lincoln School students held a pajama day also and were asked to donate children's pajamas. Over 250 pairs were donated. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan also visited Lincoln School to kick off the Toys for Tots program. Students at Lakeside School collected 1,113 food items to be donated to the St. Mary's Food Pantry. The 8th grade continued the annual 8th grade holiday painting of windows at the school, planning and painting holiday scenes. The Lakeside students involved in band, chorus, and dance participated in a cooperative assembly with the high school marching band. At Pompton Lakes High School on Friday, November 19th, the high school conducted its annual instant decision day for the class of 2022. 9 colleges and universities participated. Over 85 senior students earned acceptance to several schools. 4 of the participating schools reported offering a cumulative total of $1,200,000 in scholarships. During the month, the Student Council ran a successful food drive to benefit the food pantry at St. Mary's Church. Also, the FBLA Club led a successful pet food and supply drive to support Patch in Pompton Lakes and the RBARI in Oakland. 2 coaches were recognized as league coaches of the year. They were field hockey coach Allen and girls tennis coach Hales. And I was very pleased with the walk this year. Really had a nice turnout, and it was very successful. And that's my report.
I have to just thank 2 groups from the school that have been very helpful for us for every event we do. The Zonta Club, which is a volunteer organization that comes out and helps any group that needs help. They supply people, like we're having breakfast with Santa this Saturday. They're sending 20 kids to help us. That's a great number to see. So I thank the Zonta Club, and I've got to always thank our band at the high school. They come to every event we have. They play their music. They do what they have to do. They never say no. So, I want to publicly acknowledge that the band and chorus, they go out of their way to help the borough. So I thank them for that. Councilwoman Kent.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening. So my last official, thing that I did was I attended the Atlantic City League of Municipalities, and I came back with a lot of really very interesting information. I attended many of the sessions, worked really hard to learn what's going on throughout the state on different and various programs. And then I got sick, and I've been in convalescence, so I haven't done too much. I'm getting better. My asthma's being treated better now, so that's why I'm not on the call at the building. But I just want to tell you that I wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and hopefully I'll be back out and about in maybe another week.
Great.
And that's my report.
Hope you start to feel better.
Thank you.
You did mention, most of us here did attend the conference, and one of the things I want to pass on to Councilwoman Palladori is I realized that they have these nice tables that are used for parks and picnic areas that have plugins that are solar powered for your phones and laptops. So I think that's something maybe we can incorporate into the parks, where, if you're sitting at the park, you can charge your phone for free. So it seems like a good thing. So, I'll do that. Councilwoman Palladori.
We need a park full of people sitting there on their cell phones, not enjoying the outdoors. Thank you, Mayor. I do want to again thank Terry for her dedication to our community. I did follow your suggestion at the conference, and I did take the risk and compliance course, which I do think gives us a credit on our insurance premium.
Yeah, $250 per person.
A couple people took it, I think.
Yeah.
And it was actually very informative. So I was happy I took it. I also took some time to walk the floor and looked at some of the vendors for some ideas for some playground equipment, because I know as we go into the new year, we are going to start spending more time looking at improvements for some of our other parks. In addition to that, I did attend the holiday stroll. It was a really great turnout. I think we had some really nice additions this year. The lights on the fencing look really nice. The train was a very nice touch. So thank you to everyone that's involved with that. I look forward to seeing everyone this weekend at the Toys for Tots train and the Breakfast with Santa. I want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, and I will see you in the new year.
Thank you. Maria, if you don't mind just muting yourself there. Councilwoman Riker.
Very brief. I want to thank everyone for their very kind remarks. It's been a delight to work with all of you. Couple of points, of course, I couldn't get by without my couple of bullet points. Apropos of the Narcan discussion. In this month's bills, we had over $3,100 worth of Narcan that the borough paid for and ordered. Clearly, the police routinely put in invoices for that. Kevin and I just, I guess yesterday, had a discussion about the Narcan has, over the years, really been quite an expense to the borough. And we were talking about the ability to see whether, after it's administered, whether in fact there are programs that will allow us to bill if people have health insurance or, and so on. According to the chief, there is no such program that exists currently, but I was happy to hear that there might be. It's something worth exploring.
Yeah.
And I also bear in mind, I wanted because we hadn't really discussed this prior to tonight, bear in mind how much money we as a little borough are spending annually on the Narcan. The other thing is, you've heard so much about the volunteers this evening. There's one other group I promised I would acknowledge while I'm still here. It's the Women's Club. I had mentioned in my last report, but this time I actually brought it with me because I'm here. The Women's Club has just produced a recipe book, and it's been done in 2021. It's people's favorite recipes. They're selling for $10. They're great stocking stuffers, teachers, babysitters, whomever. Liz and Kathy in the office, both are Women's Club members. If anyone is interested in getting them, they still have a bunch more to sell, so please think about purchasing them, and they can make it happen. The other thing that the Women's Club is doing is they're working with the PBA, and you've heard about Toys for Tots train, which is this Saturday, and you've heard a little bit about the chamber. The PBA also, and the Women's Club works very closely with them, and Liz, you have to correct me if I don't have the numbers right. There are 70 some odd children in our town that have been identified as in need of gifts for the holidays. Liz has the master list in her office, and basically it tells you male, female, and age. And all you have to do is sign up and say, I'll take a 12-year-old female, and they ask you that you please buy a gift for that child, wrap it, and just, Liz is collecting them in the office, and other women's club people are gathering them together, and the PBA it's under their auspices. But that's another group that's trying to make the holidays a little nicer for people. Where the Toys for Tots go out, this PBA actually stays right here in town. So if anyone is inclined, Liz has the list. There's still plenty of openings. I just signed up for one yesterday, and she does need the help. You mentioned the Menorah Lighting, which was really lovely. And the mayor was talking that he spoke to the rabbi in the summer. I really need to give another shout out to Lindsay Janelle. Lindsay Janelle put together a group, an ad hoc group, and Councilman Baig was part of this. This goes back about 2-3 years when we first started with this. And it really came to fruition. It was a wonderful, wonderful Menorah Lighting. And to that end, this will be my last time as the council caterer, so I came, as I always do this time of year, with the Hanukkah gelt. The only difference this year is my gelt came from Lidl. It didn't come from Trader Joe's. So I was very pleased that,
Thank you.
if you wouldn't mind, just pass it down, and there's plenty for those in the audience. So thank you again for the opportunity, and happy and healthy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professional reports.
Nothing to report on, but I do want to wish Councilwoman Riker the best.
Thank you.
And thank her for her contribution to the council, and wish all of you, everyone here and everyone watching, the very best of New Year's and happy holidays.
Thank you. Administrator's report.
I have a long report, Mayor, but I will condense it for this evening's purposes. I'd like to notify everybody that we received a $60,000 grant from the Community Development Program. It's a federal program. We did the resolution tonight. That's going to pay for curb cuts and paving on a project in the Harris Street area. So that was a nice federal supplement to our paving and curb program. We've been doing it all over town. We did it over in Styles Court area. We've done them here on Lenox. So we kind of try to hit everywhere we can over time. So that was a nice federal appropriation. The library addition and the new restroom right now is in review with the building department. Once our plumbing inspector reviews it, and of course it's a bathroom, so that's a major review, we'll be able to issue the permits, and as long as the weather stays relatively mild, it's supposed to get warmer next week, we'll be able to break ground and start that, and then butt it up and work inside for the winter time. Lenox Avenue, unfortunately, was beset by the cold weather, and then after November 15th, the county does not allow any road openings, and we had, again, curb cuts and things of that issue on county roads down the south end of town, off of Lincoln Ave, rather. And so that project had to be put on hold until the spring, unfortunately. But that'll be started right away as we get the better weather in the spring. The contractor we have for this project is a very good contractor, and that shouldn't be an issue as we had with Colfax last spring. On the pond hole for the most part is pretty much halfway done. We have the base course of the pavement done. In the spring, they'll do the second course, the final 2-inch lift on the parking lot. We're just waiting for the contractor to provide us some numbers on the cost of doing temporary striping and the cost of removing that one island, and then we can move forward. He's get that information over to our engineer, hopefully by the end of the week. And again, we're going to do some very simple and inexpensive striping. These show people where we'd be looking like parking as we go into the regular portion of the project in the spring. In the meantime, over the winter time, if in fact the lights come in and all of the parking kiosks come in, all the conduits been run, they'll install those in the meantime. So hopefully, when we get to the springtime, once we do that paving, the project will be complete. Honestly, I can't speak to lighting in the parking kiosk, but we've actually had this whole thing to that point complete. Prior to now, we had the problem getting the pipe. And the contractor, as you saw, did a wonderful job of building a parking lot with very minimal intrusion on our businesses and on our residents. They're able to, people who have parking spots there overnight, they're able to park, and he did a wonderful job with that. And that was really our biggest concern, was how is that going to work out and balance out relative to parking overnight especially. The 2022 budget, hard I'm saying that, but for the most part, it's pretty much all put together. I have all the operating expenses loaded up onto the budget. I'm just waiting for the salaries and wages, and then I'll have a feel for where we're at. Unfortunately, to get the final number with for the financial statement, which kind of tells me where I stand relative to the overall cost from 2021. So once that's done, usually mid to late January, we'll have a good handle on tax rates and so forth and so on. In the meantime, once we get that kind of preliminary done, I'll be working with the department heads to do capital improvement budget. I'm trying to keep the capital improvement budget as trim as possible this year, given all we've done last year and also now with this $1.5 million fire truck. But we still have to make sure we fund our river cleanup in terms of the work that DMK does every year to work in the Wanacue, Pequannock, and Pompton rivers, and then we have to ramp up, and then we have to make sure we continue to do all of our stormwater work and things of that nature. But if there's ways we can kind of minimize other costs and kind of put them off for a year, might be a good thing to do. We'll see. We'll see what people come up with. But capital is always a tough one because there's a big wish list from everybody. You have to try to tell people no and kick the can a little further. But we've always seemed to do a lot over the last few years, so I think we should be proud of that. So that's hard to believe, as I said. That budget is almost in place. It's amazing. And lastly, I just want to wish Terry well. Terry and I have spent a lot of nights dealing with negotiations and budgets and all that kind of good stuff over the last decade. And like Ek mentioned, I was here a week, and Terry took me out to lunch and, asked questions, gave me her thoughts, gave me the riot act, make sure you did the right thing here. But again, congratulations, enjoy retirement, enjoy those grandkids.
Thank you.
Any questions to the administrator?
Kevin, would you mind giving the gelt to the rest of the audience?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Before you give out the free candy, just so everybody understands, we usually try to help with the capital budget as best we can. This year, because of the purchase of the fire truck, we're keeping our capital tight this year. So there might be some projects that go on hold for a little while. We're trying to do as best we can with every department, but at the end of the day, we've got to, pick up the cost of this fire truck, and we'll catch up. And we don't want it to affect our bottom line at the end of the day. Also, I should let everybody know, as of today, I got a call that Capadagua will start tearing down the buildings in the next week. They hope to. There was an issue because the county would not let them open the road to shut off the water because they have a policy of no open road for work after a certain date. So we're going to allow them to go through the sidewalk to turn off the water, and then they'll have to fix it afterwards in the spring. So just so they can get the buildings down and start the project. So that's, what Terry was talking about before. That's 10 years of work putting that project to come in. I would say it was a good 8 to 10 years that we started talking about that project. And now we're seeing a shovel go in the ground in the next week, which is a pretty big deal. It's a big deal for the borough of Pompton Lakes. Any other questions? Okay. Motion to open the meeting for public comments.
So moved.
Council President Devine.
Second.
Councilman Bay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
And time.
You gotta eat with the mask on and talk.
Chocolate, now you can't refuse that. Jeff Kynan, 1088 Ringwood Ave, Pompton Lakes. I would like to thank Councilwoman Terry for all the sacrifice that you've put in to make this town a better place to live. And although I haven't been to all the meetings that you've treated us to holiday goodies, thank you. I'm gonna miss it.
Well, thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Dave Rowan, Romaine Ave, Pompton Lakes. I'd just like to thank Terry for all her hard work and all of you. Last year during the pandemic, Mike, you sent out once, twice, 3 times a week the COVID information. And just to let the public know that all of you don't make one meeting a month. You make tons of meetings. And I think I'd like to let the public know that you leave your families multiple nights a week to go to meetings, and your sacrifice is appreciated. And to Terry, it's not goodbye. It's au revoir. We'll see you later.
Thank you for those nice words. Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilwoman Polidori? Second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor. Anybody have privilege of the floor?
Real quick, Mayor.
What's that?
Real quick.
Okay.
I just want to publicly thank everyone who reached out to me for my birthday today.
Oh,
It's nice to finally turn 21. I was expecting a birthday cake
So
or
wait a
something.
minute, hold on. We've been doing all these other times.
Let's,
But I woke up to a lot of texts and phone calls during the day and all the Facebook messages. So
Slept in.
thank you, everyone out there.
could be.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman, I'll go Councilman Bennett, Councilwoman Riker. Thank you, everyone. Good night. And everyone have a good holiday. I'm sorry. Everyone have a good holiday coming up the next month. We won't meet again till after the holiday.
Thank you, Mayor. Bye.
Thank you.